live stream. And so as soon as he gives us the thumbs up, we're ready to go then because we're at 5:30.
Would you give me a little audio, please?
Audio test for the June 8th City Planning Commission meeting. Testing.
Okay, we're live.
Ready to start, Dave? Okay, this is time and place for the meeting of the Yankton City Planning Commission. It's 5:30 on June 8th, 2020. Let's start out with a roll call, please.
Erickson.
Warren Erickson is present.
Specht.
Speck here.
Mooney.
Mooney here.
Peterson.
Peterson here.
Healy.
Healy here.
City Commission Liaison Sarda.
Sarda here.
And Chairman Peer.
Peer here.
Okay, did I get everybody? Yeah, okay.
Okay, we have a quorum for business. Next item is the consideration of the May 11th, 2020 meeting minutes with your packet. If there are changes or corrections, please voice those. Otherwise, is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Speck moves to approve.
Is there a second?
Healy
Been moved and seconded to approve the May 11, 2020 meeting minutes. Roll call, please, Brooke.
Specht.
Yes.
Specht, yes. Mooney.
Mooney, yes.
Mooney, yes. Peterson.
Peterson, yes.
Peterson, yes. Healy.
Healy, yes.
Healy, yes. Erickson.
Erickson, yes.
And Chairman Peer.
Chairman Peer, yes.
Great.
Okay, those minutes have been approved. Mr. Mingo, are there any public appearances that you're aware of at the on-site?
I have no indication of anybody in the meeting room. Dwayne maybe could shed some insight on that.
We have no one here on site.
Okay, then let's move on to the consent items, which is to establish the next regular meeting as the date for a public hearing to consider an extraterritorial jurisdiction conditional use permit for additional height on a tower on the east half of the southwest quarter, section 11, Township 93 North, Range 56 west of the 5th Prime Meridian, Yankton County, South Dakota, Powder River Development Services, LLC, the applicant, the address being 2000 South Dakota Highway 314. And we've just said the next regular meeting date because we will make that determination sometime closer to our usual July meeting, I presume. Is that correct, Dave?
Yeah, we fully anticipate it'll be on our regular schedule, but based on the city attorney's advice, we have gone away from designating specific days in our consent items establishing hearings, and we will all plan on it being the next July meeting. We'll actually have to publish in advance of that, but it gives us about 10 days more flexibility between now and publication deadlines to have that discussion further if need be. Don't anticipate any changes.
All right, do we have a motion and a second to establish that date for the consent item?
This is Bruce. I'll move to. This is Bruce.
sorry.
I'll move.
Brooke, did you get that?
I got that.
Hey again.
That Bruce made the motion. I did not get a second.
Healy, second.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to consent item. Brooke, would you roll call that, please?
Mooney.
Mooney, yes.
Mooney, yes. Peterson.
Peterson, yes.
Peterson, yes. Healy.
Healy, yes.
Healy, yes. Erickson.
Erickson, yes.
Erickson, yes. Specht.
Speck, yes.
Specht, yes. View.
View, yes.
View, yes. And Chairman Peer.
Sorry, Peer, yes.
Thank you. Peer, yes.
Okay, that's been approved and will be on our next meeting. We'll move on to the first item under old business. That this is the time for a public hearing to consider a rezoning request from I-1 industrial to R4 multiple family residential on the north half, the east half, of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter, except Marne Creek lot number 21, and except the south 176 feet of the east 100 feet and the south half of the adjacent vacated 18th Street, City and County of Yankton, South Dakota. Gary Hauerlander, owner, address 1900 Locust Street. So there's information in the packet about this zoning request. Mr. Mingo, would you comment on that, please?
As far as the proposed land use change specifically just from I-1 industrial to R4 multiple family, staff has no concerns or problems with that moving ahead. In fact, we would issue a favorable recommendation on that land use change. Could it be transitioned to B2 instead of R4 multiple family because that's what's north and south of it? Yes, but to the south of it, you'll notice a substantial amount of residential development already occurring. So there isn't any problem with the transition or change to R4 from the I-1. The I-1 is kind of an old remnant of, 1950s Yankton industrial areas in the center parts of town. And as has happened at places like Morgan Square, we've transitioned away from that industrial use in that part of town as owners have requested and as the city's had opportunity to facilitate that. This is another one of those situations. I did speak with Gary this afternoon, and he said he would not be in attendance at the meeting or participating via technology, but wanted to make sure that you knew he was, very sincere and had long-range plans for moving ahead with some development on the property. You might remember that when we had our flood in March of 2019, this property was heavily impacted. So there's a fairly substantial floodway overlay on this land. So there's really only limited opportunity for development on the site. Mr. Howerlander lived in that house that's on the site for a number of years. It was substantially flooded, and his plans are to remove it and replace it and reside there at a correct elevation in the future. This rezoning would allow him to do that, and it would also allow him the ability to work in the future towards some potentially additional subdivision of the lot, or even work with adjoining property owners to allow them to expand into the area. It sets them up for some options for further residential development like you see in the neighborhood to the south. We have received no comments other than from the owner subsequent to the required mailing and publication. Staff recommends approval of the proposed rezoning.
Are there any comments, questions from the commission members? Dave, a couple of questions that I think I have. Access to this, to the parcel outlined on the east.
Yeah, he has contractual access for farming purposes only across that low water crossing that you can see in the picture there. That was installed as part of the Marn Creek flood hazard mitigation trail project. So essentially the highest ground to the east can only basically be ag ground unless he would go ahead and build a bridge, which is not impossible, but most likely cost prohibitive. Or the other alternative is that it does have access to the property from the south. So if he was to partner with or sell that part of the property and have it be deed restricted to the property to the south, the sort of development you see to the south could continue on to the north into this property. But as far as the land east of the creek being accessed through Mr. Howerlander's property west of the creek, not very feasible. And he understands that. We've been through all those scenarios with him as far as that creek crossing is concerned.
Anybody have any further questions? I think I'm supposed to ask for public input at this time. Is that correct?
That would be correct, and we have no public input via YouTube live stream at this point. So I would just ask Dwayne to report whether or not there's anybody in the room.
We have no one on site here at the meeting room.
If there are no further comments or questions, is there a motion regarding this rezoning request?
Erickson moves to accept this rezoning request.
Speck, second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the zoning request. Let's have a roll call on this, please.
Peterson,
Peterson, yes.
Healy, Healy, Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you, Brooke. Maybe go through the rest of them.
Okay.
Healy, aye.
Okay. Healy, I. Erickson.
Erickson, aye.
Erickson, I. Specht.
Speck, aye.
Specht, I. View.
View, aye.
View, I. Mooney.
Mooney, aye.
Mooney, I. And Chairman Peer.
Here, aye.
Peer, I.
That zoning request has been approved. And we'll go to the city commission on well, they'll establish a public hearing on the 22nd of June to consider the zoning request. Okay. All right, continuing on with the agenda to new business. This is the time for a plat review of Lot 6A and Outlot 5, Hillcrest East Edition of the city and county of Yankton, South Dakota. James Valley Homeowners Association owner. Location between 2212 and 2214 Valley Road. Okay, so you have that information in your meeting packet. And Mr. Mingo, would you comment on this, please?
Yes, sir. As you can see from the parcel, it would obviously not be a parcel that could be developed on its own. So it would need to be associated with an adjacent parcel to be illegal. The plan is for the association to transfer the proposed Lot 6L to the owner of Lot 6 and 6A. And that would do a couple of things as outlined in the memo. One of the things is this is an association-owned drainage way, so it's not a city drainage way. And it's got a partially failing retaining wall that's built of riprap and vegetation. And so that is in the process of failing. And the association was trying to work through ways to, I guess, make that structurally better. And during that discussion, the adjoining owner came forward and is proposing to, if the association is willing to transfer this property to him, is proposing to construct actually an engineered retaining wall or erosion control measure on his property at that location, which would be much more substantial and more efficient in managing the drainage there. Those plans have been submitted to city engineering staff. City engineering staff have reviewed them and concur that they don't constitute a change in the capacity or flow of the drainage way, but they are just an improvement over the existing riprap structure that's there now. So they don't have a problem with it. The other thing that the adjoining owner has interest in that this would allow them to do is add a stall to their garage also. So from the city's perspective, it's a really good scenario because we got a private property owner that's going to own a retaining wall rather than association. And it's always easier for us to track down maintenance issues with a private property owner than it is with an association who, associations come and go in their level of activity. And it also is an improvement in the drainage structure itself at the location. So the plat, if approved, would be tied with a deed restriction to the lots to the south. There's also a drainage easement currently on Lot 6, which allowed the association the ability to do maintenance on the riprap wall there. That easement will not be necessary anymore. So if this is recommended for approval and goes forward to the city commission would actually have two actions associated with it. One would be for the plat, and the other would be for the vacation of the drainage easement in lot 6. With all that being said, staff would recommend approval. And I'd be willing to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, Brad, are there any questions or comments for staff? Okay, are there any public comments on this matter?
There are no comments via YouTube live stream. Dwayne, is there anybody in the room?
We have nobody in the meeting room.
Okay, is there a motion regarding this plat?
Erickson would move to accept the plat recommendation.
Second?
Mooney will second it.
Hill, second. Brooke, did you get that?
I have Mooney as a second.
Yes.
Erickson as the first, yes. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Roll call, please, Brooke.
Healy.
Healy, aye.
Healy, aye. Erickson.
Erickson, aye.
Erickson, aye. Specht.
Specht, aye.
Specht, aye. View.
View, aye.
View, aye. Mooney.
Mooney, aye.
Mooney, aye. Peterson.
Peterson, aye.
Peterson, aye. And Chairman Peer.
Peer, aye.
Peer, aye.
That's been approved and it goes to this City Commission on June 22nd. Okay, the next and last item is the May 2020 building permit report, which is with your packet. Any questions or comments for staff? Or comments by staff?
We're doing really well. Contractors are very busy. In fact, from what we're hearing, they're booked or overbooked through the summer at this point. If you look at the total valuation, we're behind 2019. The reason for that is because the Mount Marty College Fieldhouse came in during this time period last year. So, we don't have any huge projects like that in this year's permit roster yet. So very happy. Also have recently been made aware of and seen some transactions take place that's going to support a substantial amount of residential development also, and a new multiple family residential unit over on the west side of 25th Street by the golf course. So, very happy things are looking up for this year.
Any other questions? Dave, just what is 14 Foods, 2403 Broadway for $675,000?
That would be, I believe, the Dairy Queen going into the old Bonanza.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, I guess I'll ask, is there any general comments that anyone chooses or wants to make? Okay, if not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Erickson will move to adjourn the meeting.
I think Warren Erickson moved to adjourn, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And who seconded?
You second.
Okay.
I think
Rick,
Bruce
we need a roll call. Do we need a roll call on the motion to adjourn, please?
Erickson.
Erickson, aye.
Erickson, I. Specht.
Beck, I.
Specht, I. View.
View, aye.
View, I. Mooney.
Mooney, aye.
Mooney, I. Peterson.
Peterson, aye.
Peterson, I. Healy.
Healy, aye.
Healy, I. And Chairman Pierre.
Here, aye.
Pierre, I.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned and you'll be notified of the date and time of the next meeting of the Planning Commission. Thank you for participating.
Thank you. Thank you.